Okay, today we're going to talk about your choices when you have to get a car. Eventually you are going to need a car, and you have three major choices. Buy a new car, buy a used car, or lease a car. This video will go into some thoughts and some ideas about the car getting process. Now, if it's too long and we're not watching the whole video, here are the takeaways, the most important parts that we're going to cover. 1. Cars are not an investment, so reducing cost may be very important. Cars are a necessity, but expensive cars and paying too much is a luxury. So we have to consider and look at it from a luxury standpoint, a luxury purchase. Remember, cutting cost is important if you are trying to maximize and get an emergency fund, a retirement account, and saving for a major purchase such as maybe a house. So when we are still putting money into our emergency fund, if we don't have enough for our maximum retirement account per year, and if we don't have enough to save for a major purchase, we try to cut costs. And cars are a great way to cut costs. Now, I understand that because they are a luxury, many people want to buy an expensive car because it makes them feel good. Well, this is not a series on feeling good. This is a series about getting enough money to have a retirement account, savings, and emergency fund. And so, if you want to spend the extra money on a car to feel good, it's not the series for you. If we are looking to cut as much costs as we can per year so we can put our money towards those three, then we do look at cars not as an investment, but as a way to save a few $1,000s every couple years to go to what we think is more important. By all means, when you have a fully funded retirement account, savings, and emergency fund account, spend your money however you want. But until then, we're looking to cut costs. Second takeaway, buying used is often, almost always, I would say, the best way to save money. Unless you are ready to do something secret, unless you are really ready to win the game, just buy used. Get a good deal, keep your car running, and you'll save money. But if you want a new car, worry-free from breakdowns, you can do that. There is one secret method that can make buying a new car as cheap as buying an average used car. It's not for everybody, but if you want the new car, worry-free, and you want to save money, there is one way to do it. I, of course, will get to that later in the video. And finally, whatever you do, do not lease a car. Leasing costs more buying new or buying used. It is, in my opinion, never recommended. I have tried as hard as possible over years to figure out a way to make leasing make money. Now, there are reasons to lease, but none of them fall under cutting costs so I have extra money for a retirement account or saving for a major purchase or emergency fund. If you need to save money, I cannot find a way to make leasing work. Now, if anyone ever finds a way to make leasing financially better than buying new or used, let me know, because I would love to examine that. So here we go into the detail. So here's a video about the car buying purchase, and we're going to react to it, add some information, disagree with a certain points, or maybe agree with a certain points. Let's see.
Don't you just love that new car smell? It smells like power and freedom.
There is something to be said about a new car smell. It definitely smells different than old car. Yeah, it looks like they're using a green screen for this, and I like the animation, but do they have a pouncing cat off to the left? No, they do not. That doesn't mean what they say is going to be wrong. It just means they don't have a pouncy, lufty cat.
Actually, it smells more like petroleum-based solvents evaporating off vinyl and plastic.
That could be what the smell is. I love it though.
Wow, buzzkill.
Let's see if you still like that smell when you find out what it's really costing you.
I'm interested. Good use of the word buzzkill, but it appears he is far too young for that to be his generational word. That is the 90s, my generation, so you're welcome.
I'm locking the windows.
All right, right there I see he's using powered windows. Okay, I get it, next generation. I mean, I did save $1,000 for getting non-powered windows, but nowadays
Since
you
the
have to
auto
get
boom of the
powered
1950s,
windows.
cars have become an integral part of American society. Car companies spent $14.2 billion in advertising alone in 2014, and that number is only rising.
They convince us that once we're behind the wheel, our families will love us more, our neighbors will envy us, and our freedom to go anywhere is secure.
Okay, so cars have been inexorably linked with American history since the early 1900s. And they did seriously represent, they do represent freedom. And the fact that before the car, your family couldn't, you couldn't go anywhere without public transportation. Once the cars happened in the cities, people could leave the cities for vacations. People could work farther away from work, not relying on public transportation. Cars were a major, major leap forward. And then cars became a status symbol of wealth. So at some point, a house became a status symbol of wealth, and other times, a car became a status symbol of wealth. We can see from this graph here from the Department of Energy that in 35 years, 1900 through 1935, car ownership in the United States went from basically zero, because it was hardly invented, up to 20%, about 23%. Okay, 23% of all Americans, and that includes babies and extremely elderly, okay? So by 1935, about like 22% of every single American owned a car. And if we take that up from 1936 to 2014, we get, out of every 1,000 people, 830. There are 830 cars for every 1,000 people in the United States. So that's 83% car to person ratio. We do see a little trail off in the 2000s, okay? And that brings me to my next point. Cars are becoming a little less important in the United States. As seen as a status symbol, the next generation is not looking at cars as a production of their wealth. They're looking at cars as something to get them from point A to point B to fulfill their needs cheaply. They're not looking to buy many, many cars and very expensive cars, okay? The car as part of American life, it is just less important in someone's life nowadays statistically than it was growing up. It's less of an important thing that people have bonded to. Notwithstanding, the advertisers are trying to keep that very important to you. And it is fun to watch car commercials and see how they, more than a lot of other products, don't play up how useful a car is. They play up on emotions so much. Take a look at this commercial. Oh, it's a cute doggy. And someone with their doggy. And the doggy is old. Oh, the dog's in a car, and they're happy.
It's old, but it has big windows and lots of light.
Oh, and she's moving into a place. Oh, she's graduating, and there's the dog. This is going back, flashback, and now she's in high school. Oh, she just got broken up with. Awkward. Oh, the doggy.
Slow and steady.
Oh, she's learning to drive with the dog, of course.
Hence the official sudden fantastic
Oh, it's a puppy. It's a puppy.
Snotty.
And now the dog's old, and it's not going to be around too long. The best friend for life's journey. Chevrolet. Words fail me. Okay, it's a story of a dog, which is literally a human's companion. Since the dawn of time, the first domesticated animal ever was a dog. Dogs and humans have been together trying to make something out of this harsh world. Truly, dogs and humans are friends. What the heck does that have to do with a car? Everything to the advertisers, because the advertisers want to hold on that your car is your friend. You should spend everything on your car. Your car makes you it is with you, with this journey. Just like your puppy. Well, I got news for you. That's not the reality. So whether the automakers are trying to hold on to this idea that cars are very important to us, or whether they're just trying to make a fictional connection to sell you a car, it is part of our, at least a lot of them are trying to tell you that the car is incredibly important in your life and not just some tool that you buy for a few years. My opinion? I like money more than I like a car. I'd rather have money. I don't need my car as my best friend. I don't have friends.
Unfortunately, they're more likely to take away your freedom and security.
Exactly.
New cars are a financial triple threat. We borrow money at interest to buy an asset that we have to pay to maintain, and here's the big kicker, that drastically depreciates in value.
Wait,
It will not go up in value. A car will go down.
what is depreciation anyway?
Hey Julia, would you like to buy some ice cream?
Sure, I guess.
That'll be $4.
I'd pay a nickel for that.
But I just paid $4 for it 20 minutes ago.
That's depreciation.
In 20 minutes, an ice cream cone goes from $4 to worthless.
Go wash your hands. Cars retain their value about as well as ice cream on a hot day. A new car will depreciate 63% in the first 5 years.
That's the numbers that the websites give, yes.
10% of that in the moment that you drive it off the lot.
Well, here's a question. Why are you paying $30,000 for a new car? See, this is one of the things they do. They elevate the price of a new car to make it a no-brainer that you shouldn't buy a new car. There are cars cheaper than $30,000.
Calling cars a bad investment is like calling a honey badger a bad heart surgeon. I mean, they're not an investment at all.
Oh, exactly. I mean, can you think of anything else that you would spend that much money on that loses value that quickly?
I don't know. How about a garage full of beanie babies?
Those might be real pictures.
I told you, the 90s are coming back.
Sure, hon. And
They might, I looked them up. They're the real deal. They do finances, and they might be married.
don't think that you can get out of this by leasing either. Leasing companies set their prices so that you pay for the depreciation of their vehicle. And when it's over, they still have an asset that they can resell.
So when you lease, you pay that depreciation, then you give the car back, and there's actually fees involved too. So not only do you pay the depreciation when the car is most expensive, you pay the fees too, and at the end of usually 3 or 5 years, you don't even have a car.
So let's set a few simple ground rules that will put you in the driver's seat instead of being taken for a ride.
Number 1, buy a car that's at least 5 years old. Right away, you're skipping the majority of its depreciation.
Number 2, save up to buy a car in cash. Paying interest on something that loses value is like gaining weight from exercise.
Okay, usually I'm totally for this, buy everything in cash and don't take a loan, but car loans are so cheap right now. It's literally like free money. The interest rate is so low, and you could use that extra money. Remember what they're gonna say, watch what they're gonna say about investing. You could use that extra money by taking a car loan that's so cheap, and you could invest it. You could put it into your retirement account, and having a car loan helps your credit score. When interest rates are so low, I'm in favor of a car loan.
All pain, no gain.
Number 3, if you can't comfortably afford to save an equal amount to your car payment, you can't afford it. So if you're not saving $300 a month, you shouldn't take on a $300 car payment.
It's a little confusing. What they mean is don't buy too much of a car. You should be able to comfortably be able to pay your car payment, which is very interesting for number 3, because number 2 just said buy in cash, so you wouldn't have a car payment. But now number 3 is saying a car payment, so it's a little confusing. But I like number 3. So if you can't save $200 right now, don't go buy a car and have a $200 car payment for the loan.
So how much money is actually at stake? I think it's time to
Run the numbers.
Let's say I buy a new car for $20,000. I put $4,000 down and I finance the rest over 60 months at 4.25%.
New car for $20,000 is okay. You could get it cheaper, and that's one of the secrets of making a new car affordable, but their numbers isn't totally off. They're always check what the percentage rate is for the loan, because it's far cheaper. It's like 3.6 nowadays. It always changes, so these numbers will be a little high.
My monthly payment will be
$295.42.
For 5 years.
That sounds pretty normal.
But check this out. What if you bought the same car, but a 5-year-old model, which costs you 63% less, or $7,400? Put your same $4,000 down, and with the same loan arrangement, you're looking at a payment of just $62.78 a month. That's a monthly savings of
$232.65.
Okay, but that's just per month, and they didn't factor in a breakdown, okay? Your new car is almost never going to break down in the first 5 years with an expensive repair. A 5-year-old car is going to need a $1,000 brake job within those next 5 years. So right there, factor that in, and it might have engine problem or something else towards the end of those 5 years. So you can't just look at what you paid for it. There is that idea of repairs.
I could get a massage every other week with that.
You could, or you could take those monthly savings and put them into a growing asset like a home or a mutual fund. And if you continue to do that every time you paid off the car, even at a very conservative 7% per year return, in 35 years, you'd have over
$420,000?
What they're trying to get across here is yes, every $1,000 you save with a car by buying used, you can invest that in over 35, 40 years. You are just, that's why we invest our into retirement accounts, okay? I get it. That's why used cars are so good. They do save you a couple $1,000, and over 30 years, it adds up.
Really? Wow.
Now, is that enough to retire on?
No. If we're going to go forward 30 years, 40 years to retire, you're probably going to need $4 million because of inflation. 3 or 4 million in savings in 40 years.
Probably not.
So no, but it's a big chunk.
One thing you can start doing now to prepare for your future.
It's a big thing
there
too.
There are many, many more.
You know, as much as I like that new car smell, I don't think I'd spend $500,000 on it.
Now, let's try this instead.
Ooh, what's that?
Early retirement, baby.
Ah, smells good. Oh, jeez.
And that's
Cringy.
our 2 cents.
Love it. Very, very good video. Hits on those things I told you at the beginning. Car's not an investment, saves you money. Money's good for your retirement account. I agree. Now I'm going to show you the secret and how you can get a new car for very, very close to a used car, because there's the theory that they gave, but we don't live in theory land. We live in reality land. And the reality is you can get pretty close. Pretty close.